Sean's story, but just for a little background. So Sean Killian from Vio-Lence, three albums, Eternal Nightmare, Oppressing the Masses, Nothing to Gain. Eventually quit the band to become a responsible, I think, husband, father, to work full time and not be in the music business anymore. Fast forward, my goodness, what, almost 30 years later, you're back at it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it took something like basically this new life kind of came out after kind of a near death experience. So we all know, I think, about your liver transplant, but let's start there. I think it's a good place to start because prior to that, you weren't like playing live or anything. I think the last time I saw you was the Clash of the Thrash of the Titans.
Thrash of the Titans. Thrash of the
Right.
Titans for Chuck Billy.
Right, in 2001.
I can't pronounce Chuck.
Schildner.
Yeah, Chuck Schildner.
The benefit for those guys. And that was amazing at the Maritime Hall. But other than that, was that the last time that you performed until recently?
Well, we did the Thrash of the Titans, and then Phil and I, we were kind of like, hey, we booked Slims, and that sold out. And then we got an opportunity to go out with, once Chuck got healthy again, we went out with Testament, did some shows, and then we went out again with Testament and Rob Halford, and I think Death Angel joined us on a couple of the shows, and that was a lot of fun. And then after that, we went out with Excel and Overkill for a little West Coast swing, and we played. The last show was at the Palace in Hollywood, where they tore the curtain down because the security was out of control, and because I didn't like it and talked a bunch of crap to them. The sound guy shut the sound off, shut the lights off. They closed the big curtain, which was about 50 feet tall. It got into the hands of the crowd, and they ripped down half of it. And then because the security guards were all roided out and out of their minds, they figured they were going to come upstairs to our dressing room and beat the crap out of us. So Rob and Phil and Perry and I made it out of a window onto a fire escape, which then there was some stripper chicks hanging out, and so of course one of them got her car when our road manager came up and said, "You guys can get the hell out of here because security guards are on their way up." So she went out and got her Trans Am, because what good is a stripper without a Trans Am? And we climbed through a window, the four of us, and down a fire escape, and leaped into her car as we bolted out of the parking lot as the security steroid maniacs, were coming at her car. It was truly a scene from Hollywood. And what's crazy is we were in Hollywood.
I love it. So what year, like around when was this?
So we did, I think the Thrash of the Titans was 01, and so we played 01, 02, 03, and then that's when Rob presented Phil with the opportunity to join Machine Head.
Right.
So that's what he did, and for me, it's like if it's not Phil and I together, then it's not Vio-Lence,
Right.
And, writing music, and we actually had written a few songs. We were working on an album at the time, but that.
Okay. So was it kind of, so basically, I mean, not until now that after Phil left Machine Head that you now are back into it, was it kind of like Phil or bust type situation? Because I didn't really see anything from you in those years. Like,
yeah, for me it was because it was like, okay, whatever. I mean, Phil's like a lifelong musician. He was wearing spandex pants at 16 years old, playing with Zetro with his stupid hat, and and I was just like a guy that just said, "Hey, man, I'll try that music shit." And so when he got the opportunity to join Machine Head and go out and do some serious stuff, which he did for a long time, which was great, You know, I wasn't going to stand this way, and so I just went back to being a, you know, responsible adult.
Right. Right. So let's fast forward a little bit. We were chatted last night. We had a good long talk. Um, and if you want to talk about when you discovered that you were diagnosed with the cirrhosis, and that how that kind of came about and how it changed your life as you knew it.
Yeah, it was 2016, and I was in for just a regular checkup, and my blood work came back with my platelet count was really, really, really low, and so that's what prompted my doctor to ask for a CT scan, and that's what showed that I had stage 4 cirrhosis, and um, I didn't have any symptoms at the time, but then a few months later, I started really getting the symptoms, and uh, it was like one of those things where you wouldn't wish something like that upon your worst enemy. It's that bad. And so, you know, all the symptoms. And so then after about, you know, I think it was like maybe 20 months, almost 2 years of dealing with that, then, you know, I had the chance to get the transplant, a living donor transplant at UCSF. And my brother-in-law, uh, Kevin Rivera, was a match. So we actually had a lot of people submit applications and did the blood work. So we had a few matches, but he's always lived a clean life. He was retired Air Force, and he was the obvious choice. So he and I sat down and talked about it, and it was important for him that, you know, his niece and nephew, my kids, had their father around. So, you know, it was a pretty you know, selfless thing for him to do that. It's just like, because it's not a small little like a knee surgery or something like that. It was like, it's a major surgery. So he went through all the tests and everything, and made it through all the tests. And March 26, 2018, the two of us went into this operating room, and they removed 63% of his liver, his right lobe, and removed my liver completely and put it in me. He went in. He went into the operating room at 7 a.m., maybe 7:30, and he got out at about maybe 11:30. And what's crazy is the doctor, the team that worked on us, the doctor, man, I swear to God, if I forget her name, I'm going to kill myself.
Don't do
But
that.
she she removed his portion, and her husband, Dr. Roberts, put it in, took my liver out and put that portion into me and hooked all the veins and blood vessels and bile ducts and everything together and reconstructed it. So I went in the operating room at about 9 in the morning and got out at about 8 o'clock at night. And they woke me up at 8 o'clock the next night.
Okay.
So it was a little procedure. And, but yeah, so then it was kind of crazy because I woke up when it was not in the ICU, but it was like a few days later. I woke up and I'm looking at the ceiling in my room, my hospital room, thinking to myself, my God, you just pulled a massive freaking important organ out of my body and replaced it with this other thing, and here I am staring at the ceiling. You know,
Right.
it was that moment where, and you know, the benefit show that was put on and the golf tournament that Phil put on, mostly the benefit show where I was kind of sitting there after my surgery thinking I gotta somehow, some way, I'm gonna get back on stage to pay these people back that, you know, showed up and helped me and my family. And you know, then during my recovery was about 6 months. I went back to work in September of 2018, and Phil left Machine Head. I think it was October of 2018. And it wasn't until January that I was like, well, hey man, I sent him a text saying, let's play a show. You know, let's do a show. He's like thinking, what do you mean, like go to a movie? Yeah. I was like, no, you know, let's do a show. I want to go out and play a show. And that's where we got the guys back together and did the Metro, the 2 nights at the Metro. And from there, it just kind of took off. And, you know, my whole perspective is like, you know, you only live once. You don't really realize how fragile life is until you're faced with something like that. And Because here I am working, being a dad, being strong, and doing all these things, coaching little league and doing all this crap, and then the next thing you know, you're like fragile. You have nothing. You're realizing that what I thought I was, I'm not, because at any moment this kind of shit can happen to people. And so then it was just kind of like, when Phil said, yeah, well, let's do it then. And he was more concerned about my health than anything, whether I could do it or not. And it was in January that I contacted him. I was like, well, if we book it in April, that'll be 4 more months of me recovering, so I'll be fine and I'll be better than I am today, And it was great. It was successful, and it's everything that I hoped for. And because I'm literally, it's like I was in the hospital recovering. I was in the hospital for 11 days after my surgery, and I was thinking every night. I got to get back on stage somehow to pay these people back. And then when we got the opportunity, and we played the Metro, and then people were contacting Phil, going, "Hey, we have the Alcatraz Festival in Belgium. You guys should come play it." And from there, it just kind of took off. More people contacted us. We never really reached out to anybody to say, "Hey, we're back. Why don't you put us on your show?" It was more people contacting us.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I was going to ask you, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, Phil's pretty well connected, and he's awesome.
Yeah,
I was wondering how that whole thing transpired. I mean, I would imagine it's like, what? Vio-Lence is back? Like, we got to get them on the bill. So I know tonight, thanks for joining us, but I know originally you were scheduled for the Death Fest in Maryland tonight, right? So
yeah, which would have been a great show.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Right. So,
and that's kind of what it is. Shit happens.
So
it happened to me, and then it was just like, well, I'm going to do this, and now this craziness is going on, but it's like, we're not going to give up. So we still have shows booked this year. Whether they happen or not is not really up to us. So.
Right. So yeah, I was looking because I know the show that we were just talking about, the show in Oakland, that had already passed, but I know it's been rescheduled for August. I think you had a show to kick off the tour in Raleigh. And you had a Chicago gig, a festival in Mexico City, Austin, Australia with Sacred Reich. That would have been killer. So hopefully that'll get rescheduled.
Australia, New Zealand, yeah.
And then Bloodstock in the UK. I mean, pretty good for like not being around for like nearly 25 years, and then booked into Bloodstock UK.
Yeah.
Alcatraz again. So yeah,
well, the Bloodstock deal, it's not even a small. We're on the big. We were scheduled to be on the big stage, and Behemoth was headlining that night.
Awesome.
So we were on the Dio stage. And,
so is on the main stage at Alcatraz too?
No, we were on the Swamp stage at Alcatraz for last year.
I meant for the following this next year. You were supposed to be on the main stage.
No, we're on the Swamp stage.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, because we actually prefer that.
Yeah.
Stage.
So how was it, Sean, for you? I mean, Phil's been in it and this whole time, but the rest of you not so much. So how was it? Last year you had the Alcatraz Festival. You had a cruise. You had a cruise appearance, one of those rock cruises, and then I believe.
So we did Oakland, and then we did LA and Mesa with Sacred Reich, and then we did Mexico, and we did the Alcatraz Festival, and we played Mexico City, Denver, LA again at the Beer and Metal Festival, the Decibel Magazine Beer and Metal Fest with Carcass, and it's just great to get back on stage.
Brooklyn.
And the Mosh and Brooklyn, you're right. Thanks, James. I'm glad you're here to keep me on point. And it's just like the more shows we played, the stronger we got. And you could feel that we were getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So it's kind of disappointing because we had a big year lined up this year, and we still have stuff scheduled this year. Like I said, it's not up to us whether we play or not. It's
right. It's out of your control at this point.
And, yeah. So right now we're scheduled to be September in Santiago, Chile, and the September Negro Festival in Sao Paulo, Brazil on their.
Oh yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're trying to book shows around that right now. I'm working with promoters to get us into Lima, Peru, and maybe Argentina, Colombia, some because if these guys are willing, and it's kind of a different setup right now. So I'm working with these promoters and tell them, okay, well, book us. You don't have to send us any deposits or anything. We'll wait till the last moment, maybe August, and if it doesn't work out, then we'll reschedule then. But let's not reschedule today because we still have 4 months before we even get to that point. So they're really cool down. Those promoters are really cool, so they're working with us and they agree. And then we have something scheduled in November, December in Europe. And we have October right now for Portland, as well as the rescheduling of North Carolina in October. So October 3rd in Portland, October 10th in North Carolina. And, it's kind of like, well, I don't want to cancel or reschedule anything until we get down to the wire. See, these festivals are a little different because they got so many bands they have to get a hold of and get back on board. But, we have these one-off shows with just us headlining. We can wait till kind of the last minute, if we can. Now, our Oakland show, people come from all over the world to see us at home. So it's kind of like I don't want to wait till the last minute for that, but we're still in May and it's in August. So we might wait till early July and make a decision because those people have to reschedule their airfare and everything else.
Right.
It's kind of a trip because when you play in the Bay Area and your Vio-Lence, it's a different vibe. And we try to express that to people too around the world. It's like, well, if you haven't experienced the Bay Area thrash scene, you have to come and experience it. And so, like I said, when we played last year in Oakland, there was people from Japan, England, Belgium. I mean, a guy came from Belgium. He bought his ticket, booked his airfare to come see us, and then it was like 2 or 3 weeks after he did all that, we announced that we're playing Alcatraz Festival in Belgium.
Yep.
And there was people from all over the States and South America, and, so our home shows, we have to we'll probably make a decision at the end of the month, and it won't be our decision. It'll be, if they don't open the state, then
right.
we have to work with people and understand that they're coming from all over the place.
So how was it after watching the Blood and Dirt? It was pretty hilarious, and that was a long time ago when everyone was much younger. How was touring last year compared to years ago?
That was great. I mean, yeah, I'm not 20 anymore, or 30 something, or 40 something. But as far as how we sound, I feel stronger vocally. Whether I can jump around like I did when I was 20 something. We get our all, and we enjoy it. Fans dig it. The cool thing is the younger generation that are there because of social media and YouTube and Spotify and everything else, and they're searching for one thing in the algorithm because they're searching for a specific band, and we're similar. The algorithm brings us up, and then they find us, and so it's not like kids of people that used to go see us. It's really new fans.
Yeah, the new generation.
Yeah, total new generation.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was at the first Metro show, and I mean, it just seemed like even though you've been away from it for so long, it's like you just went back in with no issues. I mean, what were there any challenges for you? I mean, what was the hardest part, if any? Because I mean, you're such a natural on stage.
Well, the hard part was like all the stage diving and me not wanting to get ran over by people. So,
I bet.
But we welcome that. We like that. We like to be in contact with our crowd, and like playing festivals is cool because there's a lot of people and you get to play in front of people that haven't seen you before. But there's the barrier. It's 10 feet away from the stage or 15 feet from the stage, and we're a club band. We like to be in people's faces. We like to be in contact with the crowd. So as much as we love festivals, and we do, we enjoy club shows a lot.
What a lot of people don't even realize that Sean still had an open wound when he played that Oakland show. And when he went back into the crowd, we were backstage all freaking out. Like, are we going to have to pull Sean back out? Because he still has an open wound on his stomach and stuff. So
yeah, my incision was still healing inside. So the surface was healed, but inside I could feel my incision was still healing.
Yeah.
It's a big incision. It's from right to left all the way under my rib cage.
Yeah.
So now it's been 2 years since the transplant. How is everything going for you?
Oh, great. How's it going? I'm at a park, so people are riding by. And
I was going to say, well, are you out?
What the fuck is this guy doing? So, no, it's going great. I feel great. I'm getting stronger. I was going to the gym every day, but it's closed now. But I'll be back in there as soon as it's open. So, and I'm getting my wind back. Because the first few shows I was having a hard time breathing, but that's kind of gone away, and I'm feeling a lot stronger.
Awesome. So I'm going to talk about back in March, Metal Blade offered you guys a contract for an EP, a 5-song EP, I believe. Mm-hmm. How's that going?
It's going great. I mean, we've been right. We have 2 songs fully complete. We got 2 more songs. I've got lyrics for one of them. And, I'm going to sit down this weekend and write lyrics for another one. And Phil comes up with the riffs, and then we kind of, Perry and Phil and I were in the studio together, and we kind of work on changes and how we transition from one riff to another, and whether this is a verse or that's a chorus. And then I record everything while we're doing this. I have my little Zoom 24-track recorder I bring with me, so I'm constantly running the mic and recording while we're doing this. So it's been going great, and we take breaks because we don't want to be in the studio every day trying to write and trying to create, because we don't want to force it. So we'll practice a few weeks in a row, and then we'll take a couple weeks off, and I use that time to write lyrics. But it's been going really good. The 2 songs we have complete are really strong. People are going to shit their pants when they hear it.
So are these new songs, or is it something like you kind of had been thinking about for a while? They're like, oh, if I get the band together.
Brand new stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Our agreement is that these are 5 new songs.
Okay. And is there an expectation from Metal Blade to say, hey, I expect you to deliver like a song or 2 so we can check it out? I mean, what were the terms? Is it pretty loose or pretty,
It's like a 3, maybe 2.5 page contract. I mean, it's not extensive, and, the whole group over there at Metal Blade, they, it's not like we have a 5 record deal where they expect a record every so many months. It's like, it's a unique situation. One, that we're writing. 2, that they have this band that hasn't produced an album since 90 something, and so they're excited. It's just as excited as we are.
So does that mean you guys aren't going to sneak in Paraplegic?
No, we're not. The deal is it has to be 5. All 5 songs have to be brand new. Which we have. That's what we want. We don't want to go back. We move forward, and we really feel that we're a unique band. We're not like anyone else, and so it's important that the expectations are pretty high, and we know that, and so it's important for us that what we put out is exactly what people are expecting, which is the unexpected. If that makes sense.
Don't stop, baby.
So right now, I mean, this is fast forwarding, like many years later, everyone's more mature now. How has your process changed, or I mean, has it changed, or does it feel like 20, 30 years ago when you guys were kind of hashing this stuff out?
It's like 20, 30 years ago. It's because, Phil has riffs in his head and he brings them in, and then instead of using a cassette tape like we did back then, we actually have some technology that we can apply. And but it's the same vibe. It's he and I just working on stuff, and then I take the music and write the lyrics over it. And, it's the same formula. It's just we're a lot better musicians now and a lot more mature as far as we're not. It's kind of weird because Vio-Lence is a weird thing that back in the day labels wanted us, and then we signed with them, and then they wanted to change us. And we'd sign with say, well, fuck off, and then we'd sign with another label, and they'd say, yeah, great album, but we want you to do this on the next album. We'd be like, well, fuck off. So
Right. Yeah. So I wanted to touch on that because we were chatting about that last night, and then I was watching the Dirt and Blood. So the three albums, all three, kind of three albums, three different baby daddies.
yeah,
Eternal Nightmare, Mechanic, Oppressing the Masses, Megaforce, Nothing to Gain. That's so funny that that's the title of that. But Nothing to Gain, a different label. So
Bleeding Heart Records.
Bleeding Heart, yes. Michael Rosen, Nothing to Bleed. Alex Perialis, Oppressing the Masses. The first one, John Cuniberti.
John Cuniberti. He
Yep.
did Joe Satriani.
Yep, I remember that name.
Yeah. And then Michael Rosen on the last one, which
Right.
we weren't really. It wasn't a good formula. Us and Michael Rosen. Not to say Michael's a bad guy or anything. He's a great guy, but it just wasn't a good formula. The two us combined with him.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I just watched that documentary on you guys, and it seemed like the feeling was mutual. I think Perry was not into Michael at all, and he felt that kind of vibe from Perry.
Oh yeah.
And at the end, Michael, like in retrospect, he's like, yeah, definitely not one of my best, not one of the best ones I've ever done. So
Yeah.
I guess you guys can agree to,
Well,
on that.
we're screwed up people, so he's normal.
Can you share some of your lyrical themes of the new stuff?
Gary, look at you with your professional mic, but can you repeat your question?
I know.
Sean, what is your new topical lyric?
I can't hear him. You got to turn your mic up, dude.
Turn your professional mic up.
Mic check. Mic check. I'm here.
There you are.
All right.
Is it working now?
Yep.
A little.
Weird.
We had this problem last time.
Ready for you.
Just crank it to 11, man.
It's beyond that. All right, fine. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Sean, what can you share some of the lyrical themes that you're working on with the new music?
No.
I can. I got one at least.
I'd love to, but I'm not. Yeah, but it's definitely it's uncensored and toxic, and because I'm not like thinking about, I could give a shit about what anyone thinks anymore. So it's everything that Eternal Nightmare was, but on steroids. As far as the subjects and the lyrics and everything, it's very raw, very brutal, and unapologetic.
On the subject matter.
What's that?
But no hints on the subject matter.
Can't give away. Holding that right to the vest.
I tried.
I know. That's okay,
Gary.
You're not the first.
Killian status
Yes.
quo.
You're not the first.
No.
Not be the last either.
But you got to ask questions around it. You know, like I was gonna ask, you know, as a lyricist, how do you write the lyrics as you hear the music, or are you more from a poetry standpoint, you'll reflect on something you wrote years ago and then maybe update it or change things up a little bit?
Well, what I'll do is I'll listen to the music and we'll put the music together, and then I'll come up with my vocal pattern, my rhythm pattern to go along with it, and then
Mhm.
I'll start writing the lyrics. But the concepts are already there before we even have the music, so I know what I want to write about. It's just that how do I go about it, and I have to have the same formula that we use for Eternal Nightmare and Oppressing the Masses. We don't want to change that, and that's because that's kind of what gives it that vibe, that violence vibe.
Nice. Still a non-answer, but it was very well descriptive, so that's satisfying. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Started it.
So what about
So
having
now,
Bobby in the mix? Is Bobby challenging you, taking you in any different directions you didn't expect, or is he's following the lead, given his expertise?
So it's just been Phil and I writing. So Bobby, we got together with Bobby and Christian a couple weeks ago, and we practiced 4 straight days in a row because we felt we needed it as a band. But we just did all the old stuff, and then we played the new songs, and they felt Phil playing it, because you can listen to this stuff as a professional musician, but until you see how he plays stuff, hard to kind of duplicate it. So even Eternal Nightmare and Oppressing the Masses songs, Bobby had worked on them for a long time, but when he came to the studio, there's these little unique parts that you can't hear or pick up as a musician that you have to see Phil play it. And when he came in the first day, he nailed all the leads. So he had all the leads figured out. He had most of the songs figured out. It's just these little nuances that Phil throws in that you have to actually see him play it to get it. And so, he's when we practiced recently, it was tight, it was loud, and I mean, I went live on Instagram and Facebook during those rehearsals because we felt people we wanted to give something out to the people.
Nice.
nice.
And thank you for doing that. That was awesome seeing that studio stuff.
Yeah, and people are sitting around wanting to see shows, and it's just like, well, hell, we're practicing. We might as well go live and play some shit for people.
Don't act like it was my idea, not your idea. Come on, let's do it. It was.
Was it?
What's up with Dean?
Gave me account on it. I'm sorry.
Sean.
I can't get over your beard. Your hair dye looks
Shut
so
up.
good, James.
I have
You look like 20 years younger, dude.
I've never had a beard in my life. I'm getting a beard. You're out of here.
Where'd you go?
Where'd he go?
Hey man, it's cool, man. We accept it. Come back.
Stop. I just every time I see it, James, I can't stop but stare. I just stare at it. I'm like, it's got me. It's like I'm in this trance.
Oh God.
I'm telling you, just like the Brit. But never mind.
Wait, who had that question on?
I asked about Dean, March.
So Dean, he's got his job. When we first got back together to do the shows in Oakland, when he and I talked, I kind of told him, I don't want, because he has his daughter and he's got his job he's involved with, and it was just like, I don't ever want to hear you say that you lost this or you couldn't do that to support your family and take care of your life because of violence. So if you're gonna, and when you do it, it has to be something that doesn't disrupt your life. And so with all the shows I booked this year, it didn't happen, unfortunately. There was a situation where he just couldn't go, and so we had to get someone to fill in for him. And so now it's kind of like one of those deals where he's got to take care of his daughter, and if he doesn't do that, then he's not that. I mean, that's his main responsibility. And so as a band, is not just as us, but him as well. It's just like, well, this really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have this happen, and then maybe something bad happens, like you go on this road with us, and then you lose your job, and you lose your insurance, and you can't take care of your daughter. We didn't want, we didn't want that to ever happen. And so, he's kind of in that same situation where, and he's torn because he wants to be, and we want him there. It's not that we don't want Dean playing with us and being on stage with us and everything. It's just whether it makes sense, for that to happen, or for him to step back and take on the more important things in his life, which are, like I said, his beautiful little daughter.
Right. So,
Second part question to that, if I can. So
Yeah.
he gave me his GoPro in Belgium, and I filmed the whole show with his GoPro. Has any of that video come out? Have you seen any of it?
I think he has it, but I can't remember. I don't recall seeing it. No.
Darn it.
He does have it. I don't know whether it came out good or what, but I haven't seen any of it.
I want to see some of it because I missed the whole damn show filming you guys.
Yeah, it was good. It was about 7,000 or 8,000 people, man. It was freaking crazy.
That was badass.
I think it was more than that, but yeah.
I'm being conservative. I don't want to be all brag.
Totally, I know. I put it in the 10 range because they were all the way out to 10.
On stage that night.
Well, he's not trying to draw too much attention to himself. I had 100,000 people listening to us play. Yeah, you heard that right, young lady. That was me.
People outside the team.
So Sean, tell us about, because we were talking last night about Christian and stuff, and I was looking up all this stuff about Fear Factory, and there's all kind of litigation, all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So what's his situation? So Fear Factory is no longer, it's done, and he's in Vio-Lence?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
not. Yeah, he's been out of Fear Factory for a while.
Yep.
whatever their issues are, I have no idea, and nor do I care to know. That's his business. But
Right.
Christian's done a lot of stuff with not just them, but Cypress Hill and Snoop Dogg. He toured with Korn, and he's one of those guys where it's like he's not afraid to reach out and say, "Hey, I'll play bass for you," or he plays guitar. He played guitar, and then when he joined Fear Factory, he was a guitar player, but he was like, "Yeah, I'll play bass. What the hell?" So I think he borrowed someone's bass to go and try out because they needed a bass player at the time. So that's what he did. And that's kind of Christian. It's like he's a musician. He wants to be out playing, and he's always been a fan of Vio-Lence. Even when he lived back in Belgium, he was a Vio-Lence fan. And so he and Phil crossed paths a few times when Phil was in Machine Head, and when Dean was kind of like, I can't do this and I can't do that show, and these shows I can't do, then Phil reached out to Christian, and he was like, oh, hell yeah. He lives in Venice. So he's not far from us. Yeah.
That's right. So, I mean, I guess the difference is Bobby is in the East Coast, isn't he still? So how do you guys collaborate? How do you do Skype? What do you do?
Well, no, so Phil and I are the writers. I mean, we write.
Okay.
Yeah. Phil's very adamant that it's just he and I, and not that once we have this stuff put together and we can bring the guys out, we can practice the 5 new songs together, and they'll make, like Christian, we'll kind of fine tune everything once we can get together in a room with stuff that we can actually sit down and work on. But as far as the main structure of the writing, it's just Phil and I.
Okay.
And so on the EP, do you guys have a target date for it being done and delivered? Or is the label
No.
asking that?
No, so we've got 2 songs done. We're committed to 5. We got two songs that we're working on right now, and it's got to be the bomb. He came in with a riff, and Perry Larry and I were kind of like, yeah, I like that riff. It's really kind of cool. But for him, it didn't make him feel like I'm quoting Phil. He didn't have a 10-foot boner, so he kind of said, well, I don't have a 10-foot boner over this, so I don't want to have this. Or so it's not like everything we work on is set in concrete. It's like he brings in ideas. We work on structuring the song, changes, and then like this one riff he just didn't like. It just didn't. It's a great riff. Most bands would be like, oh hell yeah, but for him it wasn't something that he felt really strong about. And he and I talked before we signed the deal with Metal Blade about this has to be everything. When we walk out of that studio, we have to be walking out going, fuck yeah, we did it. We did exactly what we anticipated doing, and so we feel good about it. And so if he brings something in, and some stuff he's brought in, and I've been like, yeah, I kind of like it, but I don't like it. But and so the first two songs we have are they are really strong, and they all have to be that way.
And when it's ready, it's ready.
Yeah, and when it's ready, it's ready. And Metal Blade, they're not going, we need this by you have so many months to give us product,
Right.
Awesome.
What's the situation? Are you doing a home studio type of setup? Or are you going to someone's studio?
We practice in Livermore. We practice at my memory's fucking leaving me.
Oh, I mean, not so much as practice, I mean, but actually recording and mixing all the stuff. Are you guys doing it yourself, or are you working with someone? Or
we're gonna when we get everything together and we're ready to we're gonna work with Juan Ortega out here. I guess he just finished Testament's album, and he's got a studio that's in the Bay Area, and he's a great guy. And I think it'll work out really, really well with us. And we're going to try to get in and do some pre-production. And we're working on some cover tunes. We want to record some stuff right now, and put out some cover tunes. So that,
what are some bands that are like the top of your list to cover?
Mostly punk stuff. Yeah, no metal. I mean, because that was my main influence, more punk than anything. And so it's like it makes sense to do punk songs. And I'm working with other people around the world too on stuff. So
SODDRI?
Beer.
Not DRI. Discharge.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Oh.
Nailed it.
I woke up with that this morning.
Yeah, I'm working with a couple guys.
Lovely.
Some guys in Europe, and a drummer that everyone knows. And we're working on doing a couple of songs, a Discharge song and maybe a Crow Mag song. And Phil works with all kinds of musicians. Like we're doing some stuff with Mark Hernandez, our drummer from Torque, and a couple other guys that Phil knows. I don't know if you saw, but he did that Thin Lizzy song recently with Liz Hale, and
that was awesome.
Killer musician,
Killer.
Dave McClain.
Killer.
Yeah, she sounded so awesome on it.
That was awesome.
So while we have this time where we're not rehearsing for shows, we're not going anywhere. It's like,
Right. I mean, since you've been away from it for a while, Sean, what's the biggest difference, or what's the biggest change that you feel like from as far as process or just technology?
Well, the cool thing is that you don't have to all be in the same room at the same time. The guys I'm working with to do a couple of punk songs, they're in Europe, and the drummer's from South America, but I think he lives in Germany now, and we can track stuff and send it to each other, and then I can go. I have my Zoom, but I can go take the download and go to Juan or to Phil's house or to Christian's house. And Christian, I go visit him sometimes in Venice, he's got a whole studio set. I mean, he's got a whole studio set up in his house basically. And but, you know, for us to go hang out, for me to go, hey, you know, Juan, I want to record some vocals over these tracks these cats recorded, and I could send them the music, and then I could just go down there. And it's not as expensive as it used to be. You know? I mean, when we did Eternal Nightmare, it was like $90,000 to record that album. And so now you don't need that kind of money because of the technology. And so you're a lot freer as a musician. You're not beholden to people.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. And then you can get stuff out and people can see it on YouTube. They can listen to it on whatever format.
Yeah, you were mentioning, we were talking about kind of reaching audiences, and you were talking about Instagram and stuff. So what are you guys doing, or what are you personally doing as far as kind of promoting and stuff? We were talking about before, it was like the fanzines, you know, flyers, fanzines, you know, we're handing physical pieces of paper out in the clubs.
Yeah.
And what are you doing?
Recently I've done a bunch of interviews where it was either Skype or I was on the phone. And so I'm able to get the message out through, you know, one of the guys I did the interview with, he's a singer for Acid Rain. I didn't even know that when we started talking. He's all, yeah, you know, I'm in Acid Rain. I was like, what? I didn't even know that. But so, and he's in England, and so we're able to do these interviews all over the world and Skype stuff, and which before you had to solely rely on magazines, or you know, your manager's getting people that write for magazines to want to do an interview or review your record or whatever. And now it's like I can talk directly to people. I don't need a publicist to connect me with them, because they reach out to, you know, like this project I'm doing with these other guys. It's like they reached out to me through Facebook, which is cool. I mean, I like that.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. I mean, that's how kind of we all reached out.
It's like free. You feel free to do what you want.
Yeah, you're not waiting for someone to publish. It's like, oh, that's not being published. We won't distribute that until in 2 weeks. It's just instant. So I think this is really good.
Information that I want to get out to people, I can go live on Facebook or live on Instagram, and you know, people tune in. Like we went live practice, and we got some of the videos got 7,000 hits.
Wow.
And people appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
The fans appreciate it. They appreciate the fact that, hey, we're at practice. I'm going to go live and let people see what we're doing. Because, you know, without the people that like our music and like us, it's like we have nothing. You know?
Right.
And so now we can reach out to them.
You're welcome.
And give them. Yeah, thanks. And I'm not taking tips either.
Did we discuss that in the last happy hour? I think we did, but yeah.
Oh my god.
It's pretty funny.
Yep, we did.
Pretty funny.
But then I have a real.
So actually, but Sean, do you foresee yourself doing something like that? Like a little, if now during this quarantine, that's why actually this kind of came about, doing this heavy metal virtual happy hour, because the people that I invited initially were the people that I would go to shows with, and then now it just kind of grew. The audience grew. So, do you foresee yourself doing some more like streaming or rehearsal, or just checking in with your fans? I mean, you have a lot of them.
Yeah, I like to check in, because I like to be, you know, it's like when we go somewhere to play, and I see, like we were in Brooklyn, and this Regurgitated Guts. I don't even know her name. I just know her as Regurgitated Guts. She was at the show, and I recognized her. I was like, "Oh, hey, you're Regurgitated Guts." And just was like, so you have like this personal connection where before you wouldn't have that, you know. And so for me, I like that. You know, I don't like in interviews I've done before. You know, I don't know what other people think of themselves, and some people think a lot of themselves. I'm just a guy that plays music that people just happen to like, you know.
Right.
And so I'm pretty fortunate, and I appreciate that.
Right. So was there anything that became easier? I mean, like I said, like you've been away from it for quite some time, but it seems like you just jumped right back in without any, I mean, even, the whole health issues and stuff, the transplant. I mean, a lot of kind of pretty heavy stuff. Um, what was the easiest thing and what was the hardest thing? I mean, what was just natural to you? And what was the hardest thing, I guess?
So here's the deal. When I joined Vio-Lence, I wasn't in a band. I never was going to be in a band. I just worked with the guys, Phil and Dean, and Zetro and Greg Christensen, Greg Christian, and other people. We all worked at the same place, and when Jerry Burr left Vio-Lence, I was like, well, hey, Phil, I'll try that. So that's always been my attitude. It's like, yeah, fuck it, I'll try that. Why not? So it's not something I really think much about, other than,
Right.
cool, let's do that. When I sent him a text saying, hey, let's play a show, or let's do a show, it was just like, yeah, it was no different than the first day I approached him saying, hey, I heard your singer left. I'll try that. Let's give it a
Right.
shot.
Yeah, I mean, there is something, I mean, very special about you because in the video, they were talking about your voice, your style. And I think in I interviewed you a couple of times, I mean, a long time ago, right? A few times, but it's hard to describe. It's like your voice, it's like you can't compare it to anyone else. So that I called it Killian, like Chinese, like Killianese. And it's like it's very polarizing. Violence is very polarizing. You either love them and you have the best, probably most loyal fans, probably in the world, seriously, because it's like, what other band could come back after all these years and people are just like, oh my God, I gotta buy a ticket, I gotta buy merch, I gotta buy every shirt or whatever they have, I'm gonna buy it. I mean, it's a testament to how great, I mean, you guys are and still are.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, because
Well,
it's kind of like one of those, it's like you can't,
I didn't
yeah,
go
you
into,
either love you, we love you, or it's like I'm not into him at all. But
yeah, totally.
very polarizing. You're all in or you're like you're out.
Well, and it wasn't like when I joined the band, I didn't join the band with some concept of how I wanted to sound, or I just wrote lyrics and that's the way it came out. That's kind of what we're doing now. It's like, I hear things in the music and I write the lyrics and that's how it comes out.
Yeah.
It's not a pre-planned or, oh, I have to sound like this, or everyone sounds like that that's successful, so I need to sound like they do too. And if you listen to metal these days, a lot of it does sound similar to each other. And, it's like, so I don't really listen to a whole lot of metal. I listen to a lot of music, but not a whole lot of metal. Because
yeah, I was going to ask you, but yeah, you have
I'm
your
not
own style.
influenced by any of it because I really don't care what they're doing.
Yeah, that's why your story is very interesting to me because you don't sound like anyone else. And it's really hard to even try to sound like you because I don't even know where you would start.
Well, it was fun watching the benefit show for me.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was
yeah.
awesome.
So tell me,
back and watch that and go, okay.
Right, yeah. Please share your thoughts, because yeah. So we had a couple of Phil actually was spearheading a couple of those things. We had the golf tournament. That's how I met Willard and Mike here. And then
It was my cart girl.
my golf buddies. But then
My God.
You didn't look.
then there was the Killian on command. So what did you think? I mean, my God. I mean, that was like kind of like never been done before, but it was all heart. I mean, there was a lot of love,
Yeah.
People love you. I mean, it's really incredible. It's your dynamic. It's not like you're trying, you're just being you. And it's like you have this original sound that just came out of you and you're not trying. And it's pretty incredible. But please tell me what your thoughts were. I mean, I saw you at the benefit, not the benefit, I'm sorry, the golf tournament. And there was the Metallica cover band, I think.
Yep.
But the Killian Command, there was violent songs performed, but with not, give us some, how did you feel when you saw that and heard all that stuff?
It was, it was interesting because, Phil was on Zet's Toxic Vault the other day, and they were talking about it. And, Zet was kind of talking about, well, nothing he does is normal, so it was kind of like weird to try to do what he does, and as far as timing, and because I never really think about timing or any of that, just comes. It's like what I hear, and then I go right, and it's just like that's what it is. So it's like there's no design. And I think a lot of these musicians, it's like there's these patterns, and they try to do this design, and I don't give a shit about. I don't have parameters, and I don't care about parameters. So when he was talking about it, and he was just like, it was like nothing else I've ever had to do. And then talking to some of the other guys later on and seeing some of because they were interviewing a couple of the musicians like Tom Hunting and other people that were doing the stuff, and it was kind of interesting to watch them up there, doing violent songs, and thinking to myself, because a lot of times I would think to myself was like, okay, well that doesn't really sound like me, but they're trying their hardest.
No one can sound like you.
They're really trying hard, and they're really putting it out there, and because I know there's a lot of lyrics. My songs, my lyrics, there's a lot of words, so to try to remember all them words, even for me, is hard. It's hard for me to imagine what someone else who doesn't do it would be working, trying to figure out. And so it was like yeoman's work, guys. That was really cool, and it was. But I could see they were. It was a struggle for them because it's not normal. What I do is not normal.
No, it is not normal, but that's kind of what makes you special, and that's what polarizes the fans. It's like either you're all in, it's like, like I said, violence hasn't been around for years, and yet you sell a show. Like normally it's like, oh, we're coming back. It's like no one cares, but everyone cared. Everyone friggin' rushed out. It's like, okay, I just got paid. I'm buying like all the tickets I can, and I'm bringing everyone because everyone needs to see them.
Well, and it's
Actually,
a vibe. It's a vibe too. People, they come to see the spectacle of violence.
it is
the crowd response, and
right.
all that.
So actually, when we were talking last night about, I kind of wanted to talk about your style and how it was an interesting story. So if you could share a little bit, if you have a little bit more time, to share the story about the Eternal Nightmare. That was pretty much all your own, and that was with Mechanic. But then once you went over to Megaforce, you had some challenges. So I'll let you tell the story.
Well, we had challenges with both labels. I mean, we submitted Oppressing the Masses to Mechanics, and Steve Sinclair actually rewrote lyrics and then called me at home, and was, hey, we're really interested in you being more grammatically correct, and and I'm kind of like, oh, this is an odd phone call. And then he's like, oh, and so I rewrote some stuff, and I wondered if you wanted to hear it. I was like, of course I want to hear it. Why wouldn't I? It's like, and so then he went through all these lyrics, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can hear it. Oh yeah, Steve, I can hear that. Yeah, okay, great. Oh yeah. And then as soon as we hung up, I'm like, Debbie, you're not gonna believe what just fucking happened. And then we went to Megaforce and we recorded Oppressing the Masses, and I think Johnny Z was with Anthrax. They might have been recording in LA or somewhere, but he was like, well, I need to understand the lyrics. I can't understand what you're saying, and da-da-da. And so it's like, well, I listen to Led Zeppelin. I can't understand half the shit, Robert Plant sings. But he wanted us to he wanted me to re-record all the lyrics so that he could understand. I was like, I'm not going to do that because it's not going to change anything. And so we put the album out, but they didn't support it a whole lot. And then the Atlantic Records pulling Torture Tactics off the thing didn't help either.
Oh yeah. Can you talk about? We were chatting about that last night, and it's just mind blowing. It's like now it's what happened to you guys, and like all the money that was and time that was wasted because they had to censor you guys.
It was about a month before the release, and somehow someone got the lyrics to one of the executives that was like, oh hell no, from that song. And So a month from the release, they've got product. They're ready to release, and all that got shit canned. And took the song off and then remade everything and then released it like that. And it was just kind of like, At the same time, they've got Two Live Crew, and they're like, oh, we don't like the PMRC, and yeah, Two Live Crew, and I forget what the hell song that those guys sung. And probably nobody else remembers either. But it's like, at the same time that they're out there going, yeah, screw Tipper Gore, and we're for freedom of speech and not censorship. But don't look behind the curtain because we have violence back there, and we're stripping one of their songs off their record. And
Right.
it's just kind of like, well, it was fucked because I know Megaforce didn't want that to happen. Distributors, Atlantic Records, so they had to kind of stick with them. And when you look at the situation, it's like, well, we have Atlantic Records, and then we have this band, and so of course Atlantic Records wins out over violence every day. And
Right.
And then, when we did the third album, it was kind of like, well, we don't want this anymore because grunge is big and blah, blah, blah. And we're not the only bands that were subjected to that. But, a lot of the grunge bands wore Violent shirts, and Exodus shirts and Testament shirts and all that, and Slayer shirts. And they were influenced by our music, not Violence in particular, but thrash metal. And then the labels were like, well, grunge is big, so you need to be more like that and less like yourselves. And that era, not just us, but some other bands too, had to compromise just to keep their label, just keep their deals. Because a 7-record deal isn't like you're committed to 7 records. It's to their discretion, whether they want you or not. It's got nothing to do with the band. The label can dump you in a heartbeat. And you can go through, oh, we're going to sue them. Well, what the hell is that going to get you 3 years of nothing being released? Get you 3 years of being on a shelf.
Right. True.
It's kind of like, we've always run into that.
Yeah. The documentary was really good, and it seemed like, I don't think you guys had a lot of regret except for dropping Debbie Abono. I think it seemed like all of you guys were kind of like, ooh.
That was a bad move. She was having some health. We were recording Oppressing the Masses. Alex was pretty much running everything. She was going through some difficult times, and so we kind of, as a band, decided, well, let's see if we can move on. And but it wasn't a good idea because Maria Ferrero, she was her and Debbie were good friends, and they wanted to work together, and it was kind of the death knell for us to let Debbie go. And in retrospect, it probably would have been a better idea for us to say, okay, Debbie, whenever you're ready, come back because we're here, and we know people care about you, and so if we're involved with you, then they care about us. But as young punks, you don't think that way.
Right.
20s, we don't know shit.
Right. So, who's managing? Are you self-managing or?
Yeah, I manage us.
Are you the okay?
Yeah, I do all the bookings and arrange all the logistics, the travel, and everything else. James Willard, the great James Willard, brown beard.
Did you realize you?
He manages our social media, and then we also have a booking. I work with a booking agent, Heavy Talent, Aaron. He does a great job for us. He got us the Mexico Festival, and which was May 1st. We would have been on the same night as Def Leppard, which would have been amazing. Because I remember being in high school, on through the night. Yeah, this fucking
right.
kills them and Riot out at the same time. So
awesome.
But yeah, Aaron does a good job for us. He because when I talked to Aaron, I was like, well, we're not much of a touring band, but we want to do big festivals, and he's able to get us. He's got those connections, so he helps us out a lot with that. And he helped us. We have a show coming up in Atlanta, and I think it's in November, early November, that he put together for us. And going forward, if we have the festival season is going to be coming up in 2021 because obviously it dumped this season, and we'll probably rely on Aaron a lot to get us booked on some of those big festivals. He was trying to get us on Aftershock out here in Sacramento.
All right, and Metallica was supposed to play that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when the first conversation I had with him was like, well, yeah, I'm cool working with you, and if you can get us some shows, and he got us the Mexico Festival, what was that, Domination Festival. I was like, hey, we really would love to play Aftershock because it's our hometown, and
Right.
and so he was working on that, but he's still out there trying to get us stuff. So next festival season, we'll probably rely heavily on him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my last question, I mean, like we said, technology has changed the whole landscape of this. What's the best thing and what's the worst thing about how it is now as opposed to how it was before?
Well, the best thing is we're in direct contact with the people that support us, our fans and promoters and photographers and other musicians, and that's the best part. No matter where they are in the world, we're in contact with them. The worst part about all this technology and shit is going out and being an idiot and saying stupid shit and giving your opinion on politics and all this other crap that no one really gives a shit about. Because in the end, you're a musician and you're not a politician,
Right.
and you're not, no one gives a shit about what you think. It's like, shut up and play, dummy,
Right.
And so I personally, I have my own opinions, but I don't care to share them with anyone because all I want to share with people is our music.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to ask because you're one of the more outspoken. I mean, you're a very outspoken person, but I was wondering if you kind of, kind of watch yourself because you just don't want to have people take it the wrong way. If you kind of a little bit, self-monitor more than you would have back in the day.
I wouldn't call it self-monitoring as much as being aware.
Okay.
I'm aware of the fact that people that like music because of musicians playing music, not because of musicians' opinions. In the end, you're a musician. It's like, go out and play music. You've got no real brain in your fucking head because if you couldn't play music, you would be doing nothing.
No. That's not true. That just means such an artistic talent that the rest of the world wants to hear you express that rather than the stupid bullshit that they learned and that they practice.
Yeah, and see, I have a career. I mean, the whole time I wasn't doing this, I was building a career for myself. So, I have a career. I don't need to do music to financially support myself.
Sean, what is your day job?
I'm a project manager for an apartment developer. And
that's badass.
They pay a lot of money, and the people I work for, they work under my contractor's license in California. I'm what they call the qualifying contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they take care of me. And, they actually, after my surgery, they paid me for 3 months while I wasn't working. And,
that's great.
Yeah, it's one of those things. And it's a small company. It's not a huge company. And, so it's like, music is something I like to do and I love to do it. And the people I work for appreciate that. But I don't need this financially to support my family or anything. I love to do it,
Yeah.
And I know people want to see us, and I know after that benefit show, it was like I kind of took a step back and went, wow, I didn't realize, I had no idea, being a normal citizen. But most musicians that all they do is music.
Well, but now see. Oh.
Help me out, Jeremy. Come on,
Jeremy. Where are you going with this?
I'm trying to collect my thoughts here, but yeah, it's like at the end of the day, you said a comment earlier that I kind of wanted to interject on about, how being outside the band, and getting older and having kids, and becoming normal and society accepted, you said something that just basically said, Oh, that's right. You said you had hurt yourself, and you were like, you had hurt yourself. Excuse me. And you're like, I'm human. I'm not the god, or I'm not infallible like I thought I was in my 20s. I'm older. You know, I'm aware of my humanity. To your comment now, just stating, I do the music for my love, my politics for my politics. Leave it be. I play as a musician, but at the same time, you're still a normal person. You're gonna have your own thoughts and ideas on that.
Yeah, but I just don't want to share them with, because I don't think that people that like go to movies or listen to music really care about what the people that they're paying to be
Well,
entertained
yeah,
by think.
sure, but I mean, on an individual basis, yes, I would care. But if I went to go to a concert just to hear you guys play, then obviously I'd like to hear you play.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I got to know you as a person, I would say, you know what, dude, let's sit down, let's talk politics.
Oh yeah, and I would share that with the general population.
No, of course.
You know,
No, I was just trying to give you the whole.
if you and I were sitting in
It's
a
okay
bar, and
to.
if you and I were sitting in a bar and you were slamming a whatever you're drinking right now, is that bourbon?
JMO, yeah.
What's that?
Jameson.
Oh, they're good man. If we were sharing a Jameson, and we got into a conversation after 10 of them, then yeah, you would hear everything I believe in. But as a musician, using social media and going out there and talking to people, half your fans think one way and half your fans think another way. It's just the way the world is.
I mean, come on, man. I grew up in the South Bay, and I grew up in rural Idaho. So I've been, and I'm born and raised Mormon. So I've been on both sides of the spectrum. So I completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. And so it's like people that want to be entertained, they want to be entertained, and that's all they want. You know, I used to, there's actors out there that I like to watch their movies, but I could give a damn what they have to say about
Yeah.
George Clooney.
any of them. I really don't care what any of them. I don't care if I agree with them or don't agree with them. I just want, I want to be entertained. And when it comes to entertainment, I don't want opinion. I don't want any of that involved in it. I want, to be entertained. And so when I go to a show, and because I'm a fan of music too, and if I go to a show and I'm there to see a band play, and then homeboy starts talking about what he believes in, it's like, well, I really don't fucking care. What's the next song?
If you wanted to do stand-up comedy, drop the band. Wrong plan. Yeah, exactly.
Stand-up comedy. I mean, funny's funny, but you're gonna offend me because you and I don't think the same way. I'm probably gonna walk out. I want to laugh, at comedy. I want to go, oh, that's fucking hilarious, Tell me something that makes me laugh. But politics are not something that make me laugh.
No, but it does work for some comedians.
It makes me sad.
Yeah, we won't go there. As someone who grew up in Idaho.
Okay, Sean, I got a question. I've always wanted to ask you this. Where do you put yourself as? I know you call yourself Thrash, but I hear a lot of punk in there. What was your main influences like in how you grew as a musician, as a vocalist? Do you consider yourself kind of punk, or do you consider yourself kind of thrash?
I'm kind of that. I just consider myself kind of that crossover guy that really didn't have an idea of what I wanted to be. It just came out that way. So it's like before I was ever in Vio-Lence, I had my mic set up in my amp, and I'd be in my shed singing along with Slayer and King Diamond and whatever else I enjoyed. And but I listened to GBH and a lot of punk and all kinds of music, actually, tons different genres of music, But when I did Vio-Lence, it wasn't like I had any set idea of how I wanted to sound. It just kind of came out that way. And so maybe I was influenced more by punk than I was thrash or metal. because I never really saw myself as a singer. You know.
Yeah.
You know, admittedly, I can't carry a note. Some people actually think they can, and they shouldn't. But you know, and some people can carry a note, and I stand back and go, "Jesus Christ, that guy can fucking sing." And then some people I go, you shouldn't have done that.
No, I've always wanted that. I mean, I never even asked you. I mean, we've been around each other a lot, and I was just like, you know what? You kind of sound punkish, but you kind of sang thrashes. So yeah, good enough.
Because it's the quantity of lyrics I think that bend me towards punk. You know,
Yeah.
more so than metal.
Good.
Because I'm
Yeah.
filling the void with words. You know.
Right.
It's interesting with Sean's sound. I mean, Sean's sound is it's very original. I mean, Sean's sound is Sean. I mean, where did that even come from? And when it came out, it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna roll with this. It's like I feel comfortable. I mean, this works for me. I mean, it works for everyone. It works for Team Sean folks.
Well,
Where
especially
did that even
when it
come
came
from?
out. You've got to remember when it came out. It was
Right.
so freaking different. It was so out of the norm. And that's what kind of drew me. Well, I knew everyone in the band, but you know what I mean? It was kind of shit. You know, it was like, wow, these guys were actually pulling this shit off. Like, wow, this is like crazy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very interesting. Like
It's like
yeah. Where did it come from? Where did that come from? And Sean has the confidence. You know, I mean, you've seen your confidence. I think that's a part of your appeal. You're just up there doing your thing. It's like you don't sound like anyone, and you don't seem like you really care. You know,
Right.
and people love you for it. It's very polarizing. It's like violence. It's like it's crazy. It's like that whole Slayer, but even more so. You know, the violence fans so polarizing. Like Team Sean is like once you were out there, it's like everyone was like, I don't care what he's doing. It's like it's him.
Right.
Mean, it's very powerful what you have, and
it's still the case. That's what's so cool about
that's what I mean.
Still
Now,
going on.
not back then. I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
That it's I can't describe it because there's nothing else that I have ever witnessed that is quite like it. But
Exactly. It's so unique in its own way.
well, what's cool is that back in the day when magazines would do their reviews of our record, and it was like half the reviews were like, "Oh fuck, I love this," and half of them were like, "This guy sucks." So you kind of had to get thin. You couldn't have like as the singer for Violence, you can't like have thin skin. It's like, well, I really don't give a fuck what you think because this is what I'm doing, and you know. Do I want to sell 1 million units or 10 million? Oh, sure, who doesn't?
right.
But I'm not doing this for that. I'm doing it because, you know, I wanted to play music.
Right.
I think maybe it's like King Diamond, right? You know, metal fans are very polarized on King Diamond as well, right? You either love the lyric, or you're like, oh god, it's terrible, or sorry, not pre, but Sammy Hagar and
Van Halen.
Lee Roth.
yes, thank you, David Lee Roth. Stupid dog.
Well, and like I said, that's just like I never had an idea of how I should sound. It just came out that way. I think,
No, but you do you, and that's what's so fantastic about it.
and I think that's what the people that like Violence they get. You know, it's like I don't get it. He doesn't really care. So, you know, maybe that's what the draw is that you know they know that I don't really care and it is what it is and it's real. You know, there's no
Exactly.
I
think exactly what you just said.
anything.
I think it's so freaking real that you're just doing what you want and how you want to sing and how you did it and you've done it from the start and you're continuously doing it and it's just like you're doing it your own fucking way and you don't give a shit. Oh, I don't sound like Testament or I don't sound like fucking Exodus or I don't do like you didn't follow the mold that everyone else thought they had to follow. You just followed it the way fucking, okay, this is how I wanted to. And you did it. Good for you.
Yeah. And it's still that way. And
Yeah,
what we're
totally,
writing today is the same thing. It's like, I don't have.
No, I've heard the lyric. You've sent me some lyrics of the new shit. I'm absolutely insanely excited for this shit. I've never been excited for anything but like, yeah, this shit coming out. This is badass.
Yeah, so when you come out and you can come to practice and hear us play the shit, James, then you'll go,
Well,
wow,
you know what? I'm gonna have to record it and maybe sneak a little few
it can happen.
bars in. You know, it's all
Phil
good.
will not let that happen. Confiscate your phone.
I know. I'm gonna get the wrath of Phil Devil on my ass, right? I know.
He will confiscate your phone immediately.
I'm gonna. Well, give me your shit. Come on, give me. I know.
Either that or stand in the hall.
I got a camera. But,
So Sean, you said, I mean, you're saying you don't even listen to a lot of metal, but I know you have two young kids, and I have a daughter too, and now I'm finding myself listening to like a lot of more like hip hop and rap and different stuff that the younger kids like. What are you listening to in the Killian household with Seamus and your daughter?
So Seamus likes a lot of rap. He likes Slayer. You know, he loves Slayer. He loves being in the pit. You know, he's a metalhead, but he likes all kinds of shit. My daughter, she's Billie Eilish. You know, I like Billie Eilish. I think she's a great musician. She's really creative, and you know, she used to like Taylor Swift, but she doesn't anymore. Thank God. Yeah, because ever a skank there was, it was Taylor Swift.
God.
No filter on Sean. There we go.
And so she enjoys all she dances. So she dances to a lot of new music, and she dances to older stuff too, like jazz and swing, and it just depends on the choreography. But she listens to a lot of different music too. But for me, it's like I really am into that Cult of Luna with Julie Christmas, because she's so raw, and that's what I like. I like that raw. If you haven't listened to that EP, it's called I think it's called The Mariner or something like that. But it's Cult of Luna, and Julie Christmas is singing on these 4 or 5 songs that are on that EP, and she's just like, there's all these metal chick singers which are great, but she's like so raw, so like, it's just, you have to listen to it to get it. And so I really dig that about that. You know, I like Coma Christ. You know, I'm big on industrial music. I'm not really, you know, I listen to Power Trip sometimes and some other of the new bands, but I don't.
Right, I love Power Trip.
I'm not really into metal as much as I am into industrial and punk, you know. And like I said, I like Billie Eilish, and I like Beethoven, and I like Bach, and I like, you know, Hank Williams, and I like Hank 3, and it's like I'm all over.
Right.
I'm all over the freaking map.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I do too. How about movies? We were last week. We were talking about metal in the movies, or just movies and shows in general. Because with this whole, you know, shelter in place, I've actually had time to watch stuff, like catch up on stuff and binge watch, and it's been actually really fun. Have you been doing anything like that with the family or by yourself?
No, I watch a lot of YouTube, and the movies I like are like No Country for Old Men, and
classics.
And yeah, I like those classic. You know, I love the Coen brothers. They're awesome.
The first 2 Godfathers.
Godfather, I love the Godfather. I think, yeah.
Three never happened. They didn't get a budget for that.
Yeah, and I like, you know, I like sci-fi. I liked I liked you know, aliens are cool, but I liked Prometheus, New Aliens that was out recently. I liked that one. You know, the core of the story. Those 2 movies are really probably the best alien movies to me. I'm not really big into horror, but because it scares me.
Oh.
nightmares.
I love it.
But you know, I like. I'm not big into drama and stuff, but you know, I like The Unforgiven. That's one of my favorite movies. Big Trouble in Little China is one of my favorite movies. Up in Smoke. I mean, I can go on and on. But yeah, and I like what's Sicario. Those two flicks were kind of cool. Yeah, I like
Now,
that.
Sean, did your kids make you? Did at any point growing up, did they make you watch horror films, man? Because my girls are making me watch horror films, like stuff that I'd passed over in the 80s and the 90s. And now I'm like dreading it because I'm like, I hate horror. And I'm like, dude,
My
I'm like,
kids are
this
terrified
sucks.
of horror.
Oh,
I
you lucky
threaten-
bastard.
I threaten them with horror. It's like, hey, let's watch this preview, and they're like, "No, I don't want to see
No.
that."
Oh, that's funny.
Well, see, that's where I put on a history show. I'm like, you guys want to learn about the Berlin Wall? And they're like, nope, we're out.
Yeah. No, I like to watch documentaries on like Vlad the Impaler and you know all that kind of stuff. It's real, you know. I think that's why I like Sicario. The first one especially was like awesome, you know. When they first rolled into was that Juarez, and the bodies are hanging from the overpass and stuff.
Yeah.
All
As someone
that
who married a Mexican immigrant, yeah, that shit's real. You know, it's like don't fuck around with those guys.
Yeah. So that's the kind of movies I'm into. And you know, as far as documentaries, I love the history of battles, you know, back when before there was gunpowder and you kind of like, man, that was like brutal, you know. I just can't even, in my mind, it's like you watch these documentaries about these battles and it's just like I couldn't even imagine what was going through these people's minds, you know, to get hacked by a fucking sword or, you know, or a huge mallet or whatever, and get your head bashed in. That is like, you know, nowadays you go to war and yeah, it's difficult and a struggle and you know.
But it's hopefully quick and less
You
painful
might get
than
shot by
the
a sniper.
old school.
So 1 minute you're like, oh hey, I'm checking out this village, and next minute, a
I'm
second
armed
later,
food.
you're like in heaven. It's like we're there. It's like you get hacked by a fucking broadsword, and you're like dying. And
That may or may not be dull.
I can't imagine. You know, when I watch those documentaries, it's like, man, what was going through these people's heads? You know, and the battlefield had probably bodies strewn all over it. You're like, okay, we're going like World War I. You know.
My grandmother, she's a psychiatrist. She did her thesis on Lizzie Borden and her hacking up the family.
Yeah.
The axe was completely dull, so she had to repeatedly into them.
Yeah.
That's fucked up, man. There's no way I could do
That's
that.
messed up.
That and Jack the Ripper and
Hmm.
that kind of stuff intrigues me. Because that's where it's like
Raw, primal.
raw, primal humanity. And then you see today, and it's like everyone's a fucking pussy.
Yeah, candy coated real world fucking bullshit. You know, entitled motherfuckers who think everything should just be given to them.
Yeah.
I'm not yelling to the kids. They can't hear me.
You did. I saw that. Don't
Oh, well, I looked up, but they can't hear me. All right. I mean, I got my headphones on. No. I have it upstairs. I don't have It's not one story. You can't hear me. It's just like it's just wishful thinking on my part.
That was pretty good. I like that. Yeah.
James, I can't get over how good you look.
God, I know. Me neither.
Should Jeremy and I leave or Mike leave?
Yeah, you
Make
might
a
as
shirt.
well.
Some time.
I have to make a
Waka,
shirt.
waka, wah,
I have to make a James shirt now.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's that. What was it? Killian and Kings. It's gonna be Willard and Kings, right? Yeah. I should talk to Rob about that one, right?
It's going to be Willard and.
That's it. Shut up. Don't even talk.
I won't.
So actually,
Oh, I want to hear that story.
You don't. No, you
I
don't.
really do. I don't. Can we make that an interview question?
No,
I would like to
no,
hear
we won't.
that. All right.
Want to know it?
Yeah, actually, James Willard, I always call him Willard. Willard is a really good
It's always
photographer.
Willard,
He's
yeah.
Willard.
What did I
But
do?
yeah, I was looking at some of the photos that you gave me, that you took of the band. Where were those taken? Amazing shots.
I think those were all the ones I sent you were really all from the Brooklyn show.
In Belgium.
Brooklyn, or it was from the Oakland show in April.
Alcatraz Fest too. You got a lot of good shots from Alcatraz Fest.
Yeah. Every
Oh
time I
yeah,
shot
so
that, it's really good shit.
so Sean, like we were talking about the whole, it's like the Europe thing. I mean, God, it was so long ago, like back in the day, that you guys never made it to Europe that first time around with Vio-Lence. Like in the, I mean, how was it all that you expected now that you finally made it there in Belgium, like last year? I mean,
Well, so for us,
well,
that was
what
kind of
happened?
a sample, because we were just there for the one show. But Yop with oh man, help me out, James. What labels Yop work for?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I'm clueless on that. I'm sorry.
Is it Nuclear Blast or?
Yeah.
So he set up a meet and greet with us for us at the event, and it was like the promoter came up to us saying, "This is most people that have come to us autograph signing a meet and greet."
Yeah, you should have seen it. It was like, I swear it was like 300 yards. It was just a line, and I had to get to these guys, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Like, what are you guys in line for? And we're Vio-Lence. I'm like, oh my God.
Dude, they shut us down. They're like, we have to let the next
Because
band
they
come
ran
on.
out. Because I know that I made these cards for them to sign, and they printed out, I think, only like 500 of them. And I had to go backstage and grab just like a stack of like 10 before they would give them all out, because I wanted some, or at least for me, because like,
Right.
geez, my images, yeah.
Right.
So they sold dude, it was so long. It was so long. It was crazy.
Well, they came to us and said, "Hey, you guys got to stop because the next band needs to come on and do theirs." And
Right, because they couldn't do their other band. Yeah.
so we walked out into the crowd and
Right.
away from that area, because it was like, we can't even stand near this area. We got to go like away from here.
I think
respect
that's
for the other
something
band.
that no one really knows about Sean. After Sean got done doing Alcatraz Festival, sweaty, everyone's sitting there. He looks at me. I took a picture with him. He's all, "Hey, you're gonna go see Saxon?" I go, "Yeah." We walked down to go see Saxon. Mike was there, and we walked down to Saxon, and he was the only band member that goes, "Fuck it, I want to see these guys." And he walked, and we walked down, and we watched Saxon on the main stage for the last show of the night. That was absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw Saxon with Accept at the Oakland Auditorium. It might have been 1983.
Oh, dude, I've never seen them.
Yeah.
I've never seen them.
I ran into Biff after the show. I was like, "Oh, Bifford, man." I was like, "Man, I saw you guys at Oakland Auditorium back in '83, and man, who was it that you were playing with?" He's all, "Oh yeah, it was Accept, mate." It's like
That was
Yeah,
San
it was
Jose
Accept,
Kaiser
that's
Convention
right.
Center. I was there.
So it was kind of awesome.
I learned about them through my uncle, man, his LPs. And long story short, he ran away, went to Russia, married a mail order bride, whatever.
Yada.
But I had his albums, right, his LPs, and Saxon was one of them. And I'm like, dude, I've never seen him live. I was like, never had an opportunity. How are they? Because on the LP, they sound just fantastic.
I saw him in Oakland with Accept. Biff had the silver spandex on. I got to the rail. He was right in front of me singing. And then when I saw him at Alcatraz Fest, he sounded like the same.
Yeah.
It's like, you go see John Fogerty. He doesn't sound like he did back in Creedence when he was young.
Right.
Biff, he sounds exactly like he sounded back then.
Awesome. So not like Johnny Cash when I saw him at the Fillmore in '99.
Yeah, but then it was like they had this massive stage show. It was like this fucking Iron Eagle came down.
No way.
And it was awesome. It was like, Jesus, man, these guys are fucking awesome. And
Yeah.
then I got to run into them afterwards, at where the band's backstage area, the dressing area was, and to talk to him. And he was like the coolest dude, and he remembered all that shit. And he's talking to his band. Yeah, I remember we played with that, except at that show. And
Oh, that's
like,
awesome.
he made me feel like it wasn't like he was like, "Oh, thanks, mate," and fuck off.
Yeah, he didn't blow you off. He actually remembered.
Not at
He was
all.
genuine. He was
And they were
human.
done, so they were about to get on their bus and get the hell out of there. So he spent, and he knows Phil, so he was like, "Oh, where's Phil Dummel?" And yeah, it was kind of cool.
That's
It was
awesome.
like for me, it was like, and Udo played the festival too. I
Right?
at the hotel.
Stayed in the same hotel. I remember
Yeah.
seeing.
Oh, really? Okay. Because I saw Dirk Schneider, I think, at Slim's in the past couple of years. Freaking awesome.
Yeah, he was really good.
Yeah, and so I saw Udo at the I'm like, oh hey Udo, it's like I'm a big fan. I saw you guys with Saxon, fuck man, Oklahoma Auditorium back in like 1980 something, and he was cool too.
Was he?
You don't want to impose yourself on people when they're having their breakfast.
I know. That's why
but,
it's like that's why I never wanted to take pictures with anyone.
yeah.
Because you don't want to be that person.
Yeah, and I talked to him for a minute. I didn't want to, like I said, I didn't want to impose myself. He was down there having breakfast, But he was gracious,
That's cool.
Gotta get the pigs out of your background. I'm sorry. Flying
Those are
dead
lemmings.
pigs.
Lemmings.
Lemmings.
That
Dude, they're lemmings,
That's
man.
the new Vio-Lence cover right there.
Hey, you know what? Maybe he'll incorporate the art. Just put like a tiny
Whatever.
little in the album, just lemmings
That's it.
dedicated to this session.
Right in there. I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
So Sean, I know you guys are you friends with Phil or the other Phil, the Sacred Reich Phil? So what's the connection there? Because I know they were taking you guys on the road.
When we would back in the day, we would go to Phoenix and play the Mason. Sacred Reich guys were there all the time, and Debbie knew their manager, and so anytime we were in the area, it's like we had this kind of family kind of connection with Debbie and her connection with the band, and then Phil's the one that Phil Demmel was like, hey, Sacred Reich asked if we play LA and Mesa, Arizona. I was like, oh hell yeah, and it was like when I saw Phil Ryan, it was like, oh dude, it was like 30 years there was never 30 years between the last time I'd seen him and the time I'd seen him in LA. He's a really nice guy. And same with the rest of the band. They're just, and then Dave McLean's connection with Phil and Demmel.
Right. Right, of course.
Yeah, and Dave, he actually, he shares space with us at our studio. We don't even charge him because he's like one of us. I mean, he's like,
right.
Right. And for us, that's who we are. We're like, we're not, we're like, it's like a family, this business. Back in the day, it was like competitive as hell, right?
Yeah.
Forbidden, us and Death Angel.
Yeah.
We were the second wave, and we were like, we got the baddest motherfuckers there are. And fuck those guys. Anytime we play with them, we gotta stomp them,
Yeah.
But for us too, it was like before the album came out, we had a good connection with the Nadies who own the Stone and the Omni.
Right.
And we were able to draw people with just our demo. And so Joey Houston would get us shows. We'd play with GBH and Destruction and all these bands that were touring. And I mean, hell, we played the Stone with GBH, and I was just like, my God, we're playing with GBH. This is insane,
Right.
So we were always everyone else, and because Joey Houston's connection with the Nadies, and we had a good relationship, and we were able to draw fans. We got a lot of the touring bands coming through we were able to play with, where some of the other bands didn't get those opportunities. But anytime we played with Death Angel or Forbidden or we were always like, we're gonna fucking kill everybody, because this is the way it is. And where nowadays it's like, oh man, we gotta play together. Just think what would happen.
Right? Yeah.
We played
That's
with, Death Angel and Exodus and
Exactly.
Testament. That would
being competitive with but we should have been like building each other up, like bringing each other like together, right, to make it stronger. But at the time, that wasn't the way,
no, it was competitive as hell,
right? I know.
and especially for us, the norm. So it's like.
Yeah. No.
We
No, it's
didn't want to be the norm, and we wanted to be the baddest ass, and we didn't give a shit what anyone thought. And
Yeah, it's interesting, Sean. Yeah, it's interesting. The story now, the story is like 30 years old, but you didn't really need to work for it, really, because you guys built that following. And it's like just by being you, not trying to sound like someone else. So, looking back, it's like,
fun.
wow.
It was always fun.
Awesome.
And it was always fun until we signed a record deal. And then that fucks everything.
I know.
And that's why this Metal Blade thing is so great, because they're just like we are, like, hey, we just want good metal,
So the Metal Blade, I mean, that was it.
And that's Brian Schlegel is the
okay.
guy, and
he's still there then.
Yeah, they obviously have a board. They're a big business, and they have a board, and for me, it's like they were Metal Massacre, they were Show No Mercy, and my first experience with thrash, it was seeing Slayer at the Keystone Berkeley, and I didn't know what the hell a pit was, and I'm standing. Dave Dell, his brother, was like, let's stand here and wait for the show to start. I'm gonna go get a beer, and then I'm like, holy shit, I'm in the middle of the pit. Toby Rage and freaking Airborne Andy Anderson and those guys.
Yes.
It was like, this is insane, And you'd go to Ruthie's Inn and you'd see shows at Ruthie's Inn, and if you went close to the stage, you better have your head on a swivel, because you were gonna get fucked up if you weren't.
Right.
No matter where.
They were looking for victims. Paul Bailoff was always looking out for who's a poser. I'm gonna smash that fucking guy or whoever. He wasn't like in the pit. He wasn't in the pit. He was hunting the pit. He was like looking for someone to destroy.
He was always,
So
it's weird. It's like, exactly.
It was just, I saw Slayer, Suicidal, Megadeth, Metallica, Exodus, Possessed. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And it's just a small club, and the club owners would serve anyone booze. They didn't give a shit how old you were. Yeah. And it was like a whole different world, And no cops ever came around, and like,
no.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? That's the interesting part. I was like
they just left them alone.
Different. They just looked. Yeah. So Sean, I was watching that part, the video about Death Angel's manager saying how he was such a jerk.
They hired some guy. He was some French guy. I don't know.
I think he was English.
But
it was funny because where were you at that show that night? That everyone, like, someone that slashed everyone's tires, including mine. So Dirk Summers, Death Angel's manager, was actually changing my tire. It was hilarious.
Fuck him.
Dirk. I'm like, okay.
I just remember I hated that motherfucker, and if I saw him today,
actually, until that moment, he's like, "Oh, let me help you." I'm like, the only person. I'm like, "Where were you, Sean?" The only person was changing my tire.
I was probably puking or pissing somewhere. But for us, it was like, who's this fucking outsider?
No.
And
who did they have before? Was it Kat Sidorsky, and then they had Dirk, and then who? Then what? Who?
Kat managed them, and then they brought that they hired the Dirk guy, and for us Dirk. It was like, yeah, who's this fucking outsider? And
yeah, right. He was very not But until he changed my tire, he's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this happened." He's like, changing my tires. I have a picture. It's blurry, but changing my tire.
I don't think he would have changed my tire.
No.
Well, I mean,
special.
No.
I mean, you're a good-looking guy.
You know what?
But
I remember the Death Angel played the Tattoo and Metal Festival thing out here in Sacramento at Expo, at the Cal Expo.
Oh, right, okay.
And so we went to see him and brought Seamus, and Gary Holt was there and stuff. And it was just like great to see them, because it was like, wow, it was Rob and all these dudes. It was like, fuck, man, it's great to see you guys, because at the time I was like, dad, baseball coach, and that kind of shit. And it was like really kind of, and Skin Lab played, so it was great to see those guys. And but it's like our whole Bay Area thing has always, it's never changed. People came in and like the Dirks of the world.
Dirk Summers. But that's the cool thing, Sean. It's like you made that choice. I mean, you made the choice that no one else made. Like the relationship. It's like I love this woman. It's like I want to have a family. I want to do this. It's like, but the cool thing is like, it's like you did that, but it's like when you were ready to kind of head back into it, people were like, okay, I'm totally all in, and you're selling out shows, right, and merch and all kinds of crazy shit. So that's a testament to how special, I guess, you are.
Well, that whole time too, it was like I never thought I was just, because Dana would always be like, oh, you have these fans that they want to talk to you, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm doing this, and what matters to me is my kids, and none of that shit matters to me really. And then it was like when I got sick, and then all those people coming together, it was kind of like, wow, this is crazy. It's fucking nuts.
It was crazy. And Phil, as you know, it's like Phil. I said, Phil, do you have some spots available? He's like, oh yeah, I have a few. It's like, he's like, just come down. I'm like, okay. So I came down, and he's like, oh, I have this guy that used to be an X Sharks or my high school guys, and like I want to go with the high school guys, and that's how I met Mike Short and James Willard, and they were BFFs.
Willard. I'm always Willard. Come on, shit.
Willard. You have a first name, Willard?
James.
no, it's just Willard.
It's always Willard, man.
Like rats.
That for
Like the
30 years.
Like the kid with rats.
I said it was the king of all rats, so it was all good. All good.
It was cool.
Gross,
It was
man.
cool. Yeah, it was cool.
But
and
what's funny is when I went to the golf tournament, I had an emergency surgery that Monday before.
oh shit.
I was in the hospital, got out like Wednesday evening, and then Dane's like, well, you have to go, Phil. I was like, fuck, man. It's like I just had like a 6-inch incision cut in my belly.
Yeah,
you didn't. Okay, I'll go.
But were you swinging irons, or were you just there to, wave and do a Queen's wave and hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, he came in.
God, it's like, whew. He's like, all right, I got.
Honestly,
Doc, give me the painkillers.
I could barely put one foot in front of the other.
Dude, you got balls.
That night, I thought that was the last time I'd ever see Sean again. Really, honestly, that was it. I thought when I looked at Sean, I was like, this is it. And then I talked to Dana in the parking lot, and I just burst into tears, and I just fucking left. I had an Uber coming home. I went back to Mike Short's house, and we cried. All of us cried really on the way home. Yep. I thought that was the last time we'd ever see Sean. So now to see everything else inspire, it's
amazing,
absolutely incredible. And I'm
incredible.
Part of it, so it's really even better.
Now, while you were going through this, was it gray or was it black?
It wasn't nothing because I've never grown a beard in my life. You guys, fuck you, Mike. Don't even.
Wait a minute. So this is the first you're actually growing this. So you could be joking. You could be fucking around. Yeah, I'm still dark.
So you never grew a beard in your life, and then when you did, you decided to dye it.
No. It came out black because it was laying dormant for so many years.
It doesn't even look.
It's like I have to be black for at least a few inches.
I would just go rock it. It was fucking. I'd be Santa Claus right now. We're doing goddamn Macy's from next fucking.
You're making me cry, James. James, you're making me cry.
Shit.
Oh man.
I'm out. Fuck you guys. I'm gonna drink another beer and fuck you guys.
And you know it's funny that you say that because my wife is like, fucking shave that shit off, pendejo. She's like, you look like a cabron. I'm like, I was like, I like it. I was like, it hides the double chin.
But again, James, you look great.
Shut up, man.
Fantastic.
Sean,
I mean, not that I have a basis of comparison from any other time, but you look great, bro.
I've never in my life ever grown a beard in my life because I was always going right. I was going gray at
It looks,
17
dude,
years
seriously,
old in
it
high
looks
school.
natural. It looks natural on you. Like you look like what Mitch Hedberg could have grown into.
Oh, you guys are killing me. Now I gotta shave this shit off, you fuckers.
No, James, you look great.
Fuck. Sean's not me. Hi, Sean. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna need a copy of this video.
This is what it's all about, is having a great time.
Yeah. On my expense, motherfucker.
Hey! You know what? It's all fun and games. I mean, if one of my girls came down and started bitching me out as a dad, I'd be embarrassed. I'd be like, all right, fuck. All right, you guys got that shit on. You guys got that shit on video.
There we go. Okay.
What am I gonna do? No, princess, shut the hell up.
Hey, James, my mom's watching too, so.
Oh. Damn. You know what? Fuck you. I look good. I don't give a shit.
Hey, what happened to it sounds like you're so wait, Sean, did you say it to what? Sorry, I'm like,
You don't have to touch it, James.
I'm not saying shit.
So-
Go ahead, Marsh. Go ahead.
so
Break another one, March.
I know you guys are heavy Dublin DDP, but Sean, were you in Castro Valley too? Because I was Castro Valley High School. Were you Castro Valley?
Yeah, I went to Castro Valley High. Graduated from Castro Valley High.
What year?
Rob?
82.
What?
Yep.
You look good.
Hey.
I look good because I braid my hair, motherfucker.
Did you go to
Because
Castro
I'm
Valley
like-
High?
But after you. So did you know? Wait, did you go to Cliff? Was there
Yeah,
when you were
Cliff.
there? Then?
Cliff graduated a year before me, or 2 years. I can't remember.
Oh
But
shit!
he played in the courtyard before Trauma, and he did anesthesia pulling teeth solo. And I was
Shit.
sitting like right there, like,
It's fucking
my
badass.
God, what the fuck is this? And so after they played, I went up and I was like, hey man, that was awesome. So we would have these barbecue parties in Castro Valley with Yaz and
Right,
Dean and all these other people. And,
right. Dean was Castro Valley.
yeah, and Cliff was always there, and
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of cool because eventually the instruments would break out and people would start jamming.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I didn't know you were Castro Valley. I saw something. It's like Castro Valley. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Me too.
Why do I remember Dean being in Dublin all the time? I mean,
went to
I've
Castro
always
Valley,
seen
too.
Dean in Dublin.
Because I think he
Lost.
and Dave were from Pleasanton, and then they moved out to Castro Valley. But that was
Okay.
after.
Okay, then that's why.
Yeah.
That's funny. It was like Sean Killian Castro Valley. I'm like, oh, I don't remember that, but that was after. That was before me. Cool.
You can say that I look good again if you want.
Well, you look awesome.
Oh,
Wait. Are we talking about Sean or Willie?
We're talking about me again?
Because Willie did this thing right here. Like, check me out.
Oh.
Aren't I
Like a
sexy
pose?
just for men?
That was good. No, we So I
Just
first
for
met
men.
Willard
That's what I was searching for, just for men.
No, I met
I'm out. You guys are fucking.
No.
That
These
shit
were my-
will burn your skin. Ask Perry.
Hey, dude.
So we
In
did
the
the
sun
Alcatraz
every day
Festival.
here in Arizona.
Check this
I'm
out.
sorry.
We did the Alcatraz Festival. At the end of the
I'm
set,
out. I'm
James
gonna
took a
get a beer.
picture of us. James took a picture of us with the crowd behind us. And I saw the picture later, and I enlarged Perry's face. I'm all, what the hell's going on here?
Oh, I know.
Then he
I
dyed
haven't-
his beard.
I think I took 15 shots, and Perry looked like he was like.
Exactly.
I don't understand it. The
Perry
whole
was
time.
all-
I was like 15 shots, and Perry, you give me the same deer in headlights? Like
Yeah.
you've never done this before? Like
So I enlarged.
this isn't
So
Perry.
what I did, James, is I enlarged that picture with just his face. And I sent it to him going, what the hell's going on
What?
here?
I know.
And then he went and got just for
Tournament again?
Sure.
So we were sitting, I don't know if you guys all remember, but we were sitting right next to Sean, and
Yeah.
we already brought that up. Like we were all looking at him going, fuck, dude, this sucks. You know, we had this great fucking golf game. It was awesome. And then we start to have dinner and we're looking at Sean, and like Willard said, we were driving home. We were all fucking in tears going, fuck, he didn't look good. Right. Well, there was a benefit with the raffle for certain things, and I had my eye on a bass guitar that I really want. I'm a huge Steve Harris fan, and it was a Fender bass, his signature bass. So I bid on that and I got it, but because of Sean's how we thought he was, I didn't play it. I never played the bass. And then when Willard called me from Arizona, he says, "Hey, we're going to see Vio-Lence in Oakland. They're going to be playing." I said, "Who's singing?" He said, "Sean." "Sean singing? Dude, don't you watch Facebook? He's better." I'm like, "He's fucking better? Holy shit." Because since
he was never on social media until
I was never on social media, so I didn't.
Yeah.
Willard made me do it in Belgium or Germany, whatever the fuck, maybe get on Facebook. But I wasn't on. Anyways, my point is, because Sean got better, I'm able to play, and I don't know how I can show that, but this is what I got. This is how can I show you? Can you guys see that?
No, can't see dick.
Hold on. Yeah,
No?
there it is.
Yeah, that's that. My bass that I got from that show, and I didn't play it until you got better, because it was going to be one of those things where I figured, well, that bass is probably going to sit there and never be played. I don't know why I did that. I did, but you got better, so now I'm totally fucking.
This is what I got. This is what I got from that show. I got a Scotty Ian signature guitar signed by Scotty Ian, and wait for it. That's the Slayer, Lamb of God. I don't know. Phil's on there. There's a couple more on there, but that's what I got from that too as well. So yeah, that cost me. I came home and I was like, "Oh my God, honey, I won this. I won this fucking cymbal, and I won this fucking guitar." And she goes, "Oh," she thought it was like a raffle. She didn't realize I was like bidding on it and how much I paid. I never told her. I never told her how much I paid.
Ever throw out a value, bro.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Like, especially now with Slayer. Now I've got another guitar from the Birkin show, and yeah.
Thanks, you guys, because that kept my family life normal. Because without that, without those benefit shows, dude, my kids wouldn't have been able to do dancing and hockey and the things that they do. Because and that's what those benefit, those benefit deals did for us, was allowed us to keep life normal.
And at the end of the day, Sean,
and everything else that was going on.
And at the end of the day, man, you just seem like a father who's committed to his children, and that's extremely commendable, man.
Totally.
You know, that's something that a lot of people don't learn until they mature and get older, or hopefully,
I don't think you guys follow Sean really on social, and if you do, you'll see Sean with his two kids in his car listening to some shitty ass music, and his kids in the back seat going, especially his daughter going, like, she'll do this, oh my god, and his other son going, "Dad, this shit's cool," or the opposite way. It is it's a special thing, man. It is really
his
cool.
music, dude.
See, but I'm a Nazi. I don't let the kids dictate what goes on in my car. I'm like, no, we either y'all like, or y'all motherfuckers are gonna listen to what I put on.
Right. Yeah. But Sean is really cool about that. There will be Billie Eilish, and he'll be rocking out to it. Or there will be some other things going on that his daughter likes, and it's really cool. It's very special to watch, and I really feel very honored to be a part of Sean's life now, and it really is cool to see, and it really is cool to fucking bring in. Really awesome.
So
are we having a moment right now?
I am. I'm tearing up. It's okay. It's okay.
My walk into home plate music is "Bad Guy" from Billie Eilish. My song. So if I was walking to home plate with my bat in my hand, it'd be like, "Bad Guy." That would be it. Because that's one of my daughters. That's what we were riding. I was like, oh, this is my song. This is about me.
It's great lyrics. It's great
What would
beat.
be your home plate
Yeah.
song? What would be your
I like
walking to home plate song to knock a
Or
home
like
run out of
relief
the park?
pitcher song. Yeah.
Huh?
It's like your relief pitcher song. You're like, if a relief
Yeah,
pitcher.
he's asking what would your song be?
Mine's Bad Guy from Billie Eilish.
Yeah, Willard, what would yours be?
Oh, it would be Red and Blood. Yeah.
They're so easy.
Like a walking out all
Yeah.
fish all damn.
It would be Rain and Blood.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
Let's hear it. What's your walking to home plate song?
You know what? I would say, fuck. I'm like, okay, like now I'm thinking genres, you know, like a Drug Against War would be badass to walk out to. You know, KMFDM or
Oh yeah, KMFDM, a big KMFDM.
or you know, like probably not Du Hast, but maybe something Rammstein related. From the metal stuff, you know, it's like South of Heaven would be perfect, but again, it's Slayer. It's like everyone's gonna fucking know who it is. It wouldn't force them to go to Google or anything, you know. It'd be like, who the hell is that? You know, Soundhound or whatever they're called. You know? Yeah, exactly.
Hear me before I walked up, right?
Oh, I know. I got one. Joy Division.
Which one?
Dead Souls.
Mike Short.
Here's the deal,
the same
James.
one that Nine Inch Nails covered.
Here's the deal, James. You put on fucking Rain and Blood, you better hit a fucking home run.
That's right. You better pitch your ass off, right?
Put on Bad
That's
Guy.
right.
I put on Bad Guy and I
should've
walked the
gone
home
home.
plate. I walked the home plate with Bad Guy playing. It's like, well, if he hits a home run, he's a bad guy for the visitors. But if he strikes out, he's a bad guy for us.
I was
fuck
so
him.
good at baseball. It was unreal. I was so good. Do you know that I pitched against Randy Johnson back in high school? And after he beat me 13-1 against Dublin High, against Livermore High, that's when the last game I ever fucking pitched in my life was against Randy Johnson in high school. That's why I retired. I saw him pitch and I'm like, fuck. He's like 6'10" or whatever, how fucking big he was. I'm like, forget it. He's like throwing 95 in fucking high school. And
I thought high school was 20 years ago. What happened?
That was it.
10.
That was it.
Look at that. Look at that beard. This was 10 years ago.
It's like 40.
10 years ago was high school.
I'm in the pit at Ministry, right? He was
Sean
being
knows what's going on.
a photographer, right? And as he was being a photographer, I stepped on his toes, and he tried to get me kicked out of being the photographer. He said no, he should have been out after three songs, but I was shooting for Ministry itself, so I could stay for the whole band, like the whole set. And he tried to get me kicked out because I stepped on his toes a couple times. Well, he's like in a pit that is only 2.5 feet wide, and his feet are like a foot long. So I told him, like, I didn't say anything to him, but I'm like, I was going to talk to him later about, hey, I pitched against you. And after he did that, I just walked out. I go, fuck you. I'm done.
Randy Johnson.
But yeah.
Kicked you out of the photography.
Yeah, he tried. And they go, no. They go back to him and go, no, he's supposed to be there. So, fuck you. I'm not going to say anything else about Randy Johnson right now. So good. You're good. Anyway, enough about me.
The cynicism in your voice spoke volumes, so it's okay.
I know, huh?
I hope that's all that took. That's all that matters.
That has emotional impact on life.
You are an emotional roller coaster, my friend. A psychologist would have a blast with you.
You should see my wife in the background because I'm screaming in the house right now. She is like livid right now. So.
Okay, you know what, dude? If my wife was home, she'd probably be doing the same shit. She'd be looking at me, tapping her foot. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna get yelled at, but this is so much fun. I really don't care.
That's right. Exactly what I'm doing. I got a half kitchen. I'm not even going over there.
Yep. Yeah, but it looks like you actually have space to run. I have a kitchen, you know, I've got 800 square feet to play with, so it's like even when I'm at home, I can't really hide, you know.
I'm in my car.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm gonna have the car drive somewhere. I see lemmings.
We're gonna talk about this whole shaky business of like
The lemmings?
Oh my God, it's like shaking.
I'm telling you, the lemmings has to be in the album art somewhere. It just has to be like even like a trademark, just a boom lemming.
And they'll have dyed beards.
Flying pigs. I need that shot right there when I just saw it. The flying pigs is fucking priceless. Okay, March, take control.
All right.
Getting out of control.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that to yourself?
But he looks so good.
I'm out of here. I'm out.
Gentlemen, it was a pleasure. March, thank you so much. And whoever else decided to stick around.
As always, I love you.
All right, you guys.
I'm out, guys.
You guys, it's a pleasure.
March, Steve? Dude, March left.